This is Back to Back.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. This is Back to Back. My name is Willy Joy. Welcome to my podcast. We've got Wax Motif on the show, and this is one of my favorite conversations I've had in a while on this podcast. And Wax actually just put out a song this week with another former alumni of Back to Back, Wookie. They put out a song together on Mad Decent. It's really dope. I'm going to link to it in the comments of this show so you guys can go check it out. And other than that, I can tell you Wax is going to drop some more music before the end of the year. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to tell you who he's putting it out with, but if you listen all the way through this conversation you're about to hear, you'll probably have a pretty good idea. Also, Wax is touring through Australia at the end of December. He's going back to his home. So if you're in Australia, definitely watch out when Wax comes through town. Man, you can probably hear my voice is a little shredded. I played a show last night outside of LA, probably like 45 minutes out, sort of near Pasadena. There's this festival at a speedway out there. Great show, super fun, but yeah, I was having some mic issues, some monitor issues, it was just one of those shows where technically everything that could go wrong was going wrong. So I was having trouble, so I was shouting on the mic a little bit. So if you're wondering why I sound like a chain smoker, not the group, that's why. So how are you guys doing? How's everything moving along for you? It's November already. It's fucking crazy. I hope everybody out there is doing well. Hope you're having some fun with people you love and people who love you. You know, it's a weird time in the world, man. I actually got drawn into a little internet argument this week, which is really rare. I slipped a little bit. I almost never engage arguments on the internet. But, we all get drawn in. It happened to me. I lost it a little bit. I kind of just got annoyed with somebody I saw make a pretty sexist comment about some female DJs that they had seen. It turned into this much bigger thing where a ton of people started jumping in on the conversation. And a lot of questionable opinions about women in dance music started flying around. I just don't know if people really understand how sexist and misogynistic the dance music industry and the music industry as a whole really is. Being inside of it and being involved with the industry for a long time now, I've seen some pretty crazy shit. I've heard some pretty wild stuff being said. And I'm not putting forward any solutions here, but it does drive me crazy when a woman really makes it in the industry and is killing it doing her thing, and to still be faced with all these crazy sexist comments. And this isn't about anyone in particular. This happens all the time at all levels of the game. They have to deal with so much shit. I guess I just want to shout out all the women in the dance music industry, in the music industry in general. We need more of you guys. It's definitely too much of a boys' club right now. And I just get sick of it sometimes. So that's it, man. I don't have any specific point, but I just wanted to say shout out to all the women who are killing it in the music industry right now. If you are aspiring, please come in. We need you here. And if you're a dude in the industry, look, I think we all have a responsibility that when we see some shitty, misogynistic stuff going on at a show, just nip it in the bud. The music world is a community, and we all can kind of come together to make that community better. That's all I wanted to say. All right, so if what I just said made you really angry, or you think you have a solution, or you don't think there's a problem and you think I'm an idiot, I want to hear from you. Email me at backtobackpod@gmail.com. You can also get at me at all social media. @WillyJoy is my handle. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, everything. Hit me up. Let me know what you think. Send me some questions. I'm always answering questions from aspiring producers and people who want to get into the industry. I love talking to you guys. If I have any advice to give, I'm more than happy to give it. I want to know who else you want to hear on the show. everything, man. Just hit me up, backtobackpod@gmail.com. Okay, so let's get into this conversation with Wax Motif. I loved this conversation. I think this is one of my favorite I've done in a long time. He's a fascinating dude. So we recorded this at his apartment in downtown Los Angeles in the legendary Haas building. The very beginning of the interview, you're going to hear us talk about the Haas building. And I wanted to point out there is some noise in this interview, because we were in the heart of downtown LA. His apartment has a lot of windows, and, pretty periodically, you're going to hear a police siren. And that's just downtown LA for you. At first, I was a little bummed that the street noise got into the recording a little bit, but the more I listened to it, honestly, I don't think it's going to bother you too much. Just look at it as a really authentic piece of where dance music is being created right now, because this is what people who make this music are hearing every night when they're working on tunes. So if you think of it that way, I think it actually just adds some fun little context. So me and Wax Motif, we've known each other for a while. We've never been super close. It's not like we've ever really hung out one-on-one before this. But man, he was just so open and the conversation was so cool. It's rare to find anyone in dance music who really started their own original sound. All of us are a collection of influences. To create something really new, I think that's tough. And that's what Wax Motif basically did with the G House movement. It's awesome to hear him talk about sort of how he started all of that and what he's doing in present day to keep it going. It sounds like he's really building a community around the sound, supporting young people coming up and doing it. And look, Wax is just one of those guys that every DJ knows. In the insider circles, he's just known as a kind of unbeatable producer. And really, I think everybody just wants to see him win. He's just one of those good dudes. So let's get into this right now. This is me and Wax Motif back to back. Let's go. This is a legendary building, man. I feel like we should start by talking about where we are here.
All right, so we're downtown LA. We're on the block, as they like to call it. The block is hot. Basically Spring Street, downtown LA. So Spring Street Mafia out here.
But this specific building, the Haas building.
Yeah, we're in the Haas right now. So
there's a lot of history here, man. For DJs, for dance music in LA, I think this is maybe the most historic living space in the last 10 years.
Yeah, basically like every DJ knows or has been to the Haas.
I remember, we were just talking about before we started recording when LA started booming for dance music and everyone started moving here. And at first, everyone was moving to LA. Then everyone was moving to downtown LA. And then everyone was literally moving to this building, which is, I don't know. How many are still left here?
How many DJs?
For DJs, yeah.
Just the ones I know of is like 6. And then on this block, there's got to be another like 6 or 7. But, for me, like actually moving into here was because like the landlord here, he knows so many DJs now that like he was like, yo, like if you move in here, I won't do a credit check because like I Googled you and like I listened to your like Hard Summer mix on SoundCloud and it's dope. All the other DJs here like vouch for you. Like basically Julio from GTA got me my spot.
Oh, okay.
Got me the interview.
You just had to know somebody.
Yeah, exactly. And I think just because he was like 6 other people are vouching for you. So like, it's cool. We don't need to do credit check. And like, because I'm from Australia, like it's fucking hard to get shit done without credit here. So I was like, I take it to like build my credit.
So this is just a purely ignorant question because I don't know anything, but is it different building credit when you coming from a different country than if you're an American citizen the whole time? Like, did you kind of have to start over when you came to America as far as your credit was concerned?
Yeah. I mean, I guess in Australia we have a credit rating. It's not really as crazy serious as it is here.
Right.
Like here it really like makes or breaks someone's fucking life, like.
Yeah, you're judged very harshly.
Yeah, it's like, it's crazy. And like, if you grow up here, you're building it your whole life, I guess. And then you also got it backed by like your family and stuff.
Right.
So for me coming here, it's just like, Yeah, it was fucking hard. I couldn't lease a car. I mean, I still don't know if I can lease a car. I had to like pay for cash for my car and shit.
Right,
you know,
yeah.
like,
You got to get Julio to vouch for your car.
yeah, that kind of shit. I mean, that was a big motivation to move into here. Like, to be like around people, but mostly because it was easy.
Sure, yeah. That
And
makes
it's a nice
sense.
spot, yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Chill.
Still beautiful, yeah. And like we were saying before, I mean, it's got that grimy vibe. You can make music all night long if you want.
Yeah, that's really good. Actually, I've had like a lot of noise complaints.
Right.
And every time I get a phone call, it's like my landlord's like, I'm really sorry, man. Like, I hate to do this. Like, it's like they're apologizing to me, you know? And like, he always makes it out like we're really like producer DJ friendly here because like, I guess there's a bunch of other buildings in this area too that are like pretty dope.
Sure.
But they're not like, you know, they're filled with people that work 9 to 5s and shit. And
Right.
so like, his kind of whole thing is to like have his little niche by keeping like the kind of young heads here.
That's smart, man. I mean, that's a very woke landlord. I think that's pretty rare.
Yo, he wanted us to build a studio in the basement here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was like, do you think we can make a business out of like building a studio here? I was like, but people really want to record in the basement here? Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
like,
it's a questionable.
yeah. But I mean, their motivations are like, you know, awesome. So
100%. Well, let's talk a little bit about before you got here. Were you born in Australia?
yeah, born and raised in Sydney. I was born like at St. Margaret's, which is in the city, but I grew up like in Bankstown. So
Where is that?
it's like 45 minutes out. It's probably not what you think of when you think of Australia. It's kind of like that area is like a little bit, I guess you could call it sort of the hood.
Yeah.
And so I lived there for a lot of my like childhood, and then I lived in Ryde, which is, you know, kind of like a little bit closer, but still kind of sketch here and there. So,
Well, as a kid growing up, well, what did your parents do, first of all?
my parents worked so fucking hard well, my mom had a career change, so she was in import export, and then she went back to school and she did like early childhood, and now she has like childcare centers. Like she just kind of built her own businesses from scratch. And my dad is in construction. So he's just like always on job sites, like slaving away.
And you're Chinese, is that right?
Yeah, I'm full Chinese. So
Yeah.
yeah, my mom's from Hong Kong, my dad's from Shanghai. Like I'm from an immigrant family, you know, and they worked nonstop. Like they you know, definitely spent more time working than they did with me and my sister, like family time or like, you know, what you think of.
Right.
So, I mean, on one hand, like I kind of had feelings sometimes about feeling almost disadvantaged in a way. And in another way, I enjoy my life a lot more. Like, I don't really take money as seriously, maybe in a good or a bad way, but I look at them sometimes and I'm like, fuck, like, are you ever going to get to enjoy it, you know?
Right, right.
My mom's so used to working now, like, she can't really, like, she doesn't, it's like that Post Malone song, like, work so hard, forgot how to vacation.
Yeah.
That's my mom, you know? And, like, I don't want to be that. Like, I don't want to, like, you know, just have all this money and not do anything with it, so...
Well, and it sounds like they must have struggled pretty hard to be able to get those opportunities for you guys, right?
Oh, hell yeah, man. Like, you know, my mom's family had to, like, escape the war, shit like that. My dad's family escaped communism.
Wow.
My mom's from a really, really poor, like, from a little village, and, like, both her parents died by the time she was 18.
Wow.
And she's one of 6, so she's, like, you know, looking after all her little brothers and sisters and shit. She did really tough, man. So shout out my mom. Like, she's a legend. And, like, I don't think I tell her enough, really. So this is my chance.
Well, you can send her this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Tune in, Mom. You're the best.
Growing up was it small town Australia or was it just more suburban?
Yeah, just more suburban. We would be, like, 45 minutes from the beach.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Like, we don't, like, most kids in Australia on the holidays or the weekend, like, get up, go to the beach and shit, you know, like, we didn't have anything to do. Like, we had one skate park, fucking bunch of kids did graffiti.
Well, and
kids,
if your parents were working a lot and gone a lot of the time, that probably left a lot of free time to either pursue hobbies or get into trouble, right?
Yeah. We always, like...
Was it a little of both?
Yeah, I wasn't the best kid growing up. My mom had to pick me up from the police station.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Because of graffiti or just running with the wrong crowd?
No, we're just being dumb. It's just boredom, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we weren't, like, malicious. Like, I think the big instance I'm talking about is, like, when I was 16. So, like, you know, I'm still a kid. But we got bored one night. We were drunk and, like, we basically, like, had a competition to see who could steal the dumbest shit from the gas station.
Nice.
And, like, we each had a list of, like, 6 things we had to hit.
Oh, this is very organized.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty good for 16-year-olds. Huh? So I guess I should tell the story now, right? This is what podcasts are for. So,
100%.
So we all run into this gas station like 2 or 3 a.m. and like grab all our shit. And like this is like in the day when like I'm wearing this big ass like Armand Van Helden puffer jacket. I think I'm hard as shit. And like come outside the gas station and we start unloading everything. We're fucking idiots. Like, there's a police station across the road from this gas station.
Oh.
Like, we know there is, you know what I mean? And we're idiots. Cop car is driving past at the exact time, like, about to pull in. Sees us pulling all the shit out. Turns around. It's like, you know, comes up. What the fuck? What's going on? Like, fuck, we're done. And it's like, me and my mate, Robbie, we look back, and, like, a few of the other guys are still in the shop. And our first mate, he's coming out, and he sees the cops are, like, talking to us. And he's like, fuck. We're like, run. And he, like, turns and runs out the other way of the gas station. And the cops start chasing after the rest of our mates. And I'm like, Robbie, this is our chance, run. And I fucking we leave, we start running. And within 1 second, I feel like something grabbed the back of my neck. And I'm just fucking on the ground. There's a knee in my back.
Yeah.
Dude's cuffing me.
Yeah.
Like, all right, take me to the police station. We're sitting in the holding cell for like 2 hours. And then it's like 4 or 5 a.m. My mom and dad rock up. Like, what the fuck did he do? Well, he was stealing from the gas station. Oh, what did he steal? Like 6-liter drum of castor oil, a French breadstick, women's pantyhose, and envelopes. Mom was like, you fucking idiot. Like, she was losing it. And like,
That is a questionable list.
yeah, she was just like, why? You know what I mean? Like, of all the things, like, just
Right.
take the cash. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right. Yeah, she was almost mad at you for not stealing something better. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, that didn't really end. I basically, like, I couldn't go home for like 2 or 3 days because my dad was just gonna like, you know, kick the living shit out of.
Yeah.
My dad's old school, man. Like my dad's whole family, they're old school. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
you cop a smack if you do something bad, man. Like,
Yeah.
so my mom was just like, just go for a few days and.
Wow. Yeah.
It's cool. Again, sorry, mom, dad. That was.
It's a very parent-focused show so far. So, I mean, in this time, you're running around, getting into some trouble, with a lot of time on your hands. It sounds like some unstructured time.
Yeah.
Was music a part of your life at this point, or did that come later?
That came later because I was like super athletic in school.
Okay.
So
A lot of sports back then.
yeah, like I played like really like I mean, you know, best team for my school, played for state for soccer, played for like my area, like the best team in my area. So I was like, you know, playing two times like 2 games a week, probably like 2 or 3 training sessions a week. I mean, I played since day one, but you know, going heavy on it was like, you know, I guess from about 16 onwards.
Yeah.
16 till like 19 was like, you know, I'd be running athletics, like track, like 100, 200 relay, and then like long jump. I like hurdled for a bit, but I hated it. It's fucking so painful, bro. You ever tried to hurdle? That shit sucks.
Yo, I just want to take time out of this podcast to say fuck hurdles.
Fuck hurdles. So I was doing a lot of that. So I mean that was kind of a lot of my energy, a lot of like, you know, the unstructured energy was like going into sport too, and it was like the one time I could go nuts and like.
Well, and it sounds like maybe in the same way that you do music now, it sounds like you were pretty consumed with sports at that point.
Yeah. You know, actually, like, don't really believe in star sign stuff, right?
Right.
I mean, until lately. And I've been reading a lot of, like, stuff on, like, Scorpios and shit. And how it's like...
Don't go down that road.
We get obsessive about things like that, so I can see it. But when I was 18... I basically fell off a balcony and I broke my ankle. And I had to get like a screw put in for surgery. And then after that, they were pretty much like, you know, you're never going to be a pro athlete.
Right.
And the ironic thing is I skipped going to a soccer tournament to go to my friend's house party. And that's when I fell off the balcony.
Oh, no.
So had I gone to the soccer tournament,
yeah.
but it's cool. I mean, I don't really think of life like that.
Well, and I mean, you know, maybe if you'd gone to the soccer tournament, you wouldn't be here making music, talking to me, you know? It's hard to say.
I definitely wouldn't. Well, here's 2 interesting things. So one, a guy I used to play with in my teams, he ended up playing in Germany for like 2 or 3 years, but like 2nd division stuff.
Yeah.
So he's kind of getting paid, like kind of just getting by. And now he's moved back home and he's working in a bar. So I was like, okay, you know, maybe I didn't miss that much.
Right.
another guy I used to play against, he's now the captain of the fucking Australian soccer team. So like okay,
yeah, well,
really like
could have gone either way.
Could have gone either way, but you know.
I mean, it's interesting in sports, just like in music. You know, it's so easy to look at. You're talking about your friend who went to play for the second string German team. And there's so many examples of that in music too. You know, from an outside perspective, I think a lot of people would be very impressed by that. You know, you went to another country, you played for a professional team, but then the reality is that, like you said, he's just scraping by, and eventually he's back working in a bar, you know, maybe with a more stable life at that point.
Yeah.
And I think about that in relations to what we do all the time, because there's so many, you know, for all of us, we're all projecting that we're stars, right? And that we're killing it. And
of course, yeah.
And we all do it, and it's all something we know we do, but no one really talks about. But the reality is, you know, even at the high level that we're at, there's a lot of people scraping by, right?
Yeah. The weird thing is, like, because I battle with, like, you know, I mean, if you follow me on my social media, you'll see glimpses of me getting really real because I get frustrated.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't get it. Like, do all you care about is just to see me in this thing, I mean, I don't want to say fake, but like, you just want to see the good stuff, right?
Right.
Like, you're only here for the good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't get it because, like, I guess I'm like that too, but I wouldn't be mad if someone was like showing me real shit. Like, you know, like actually what's made me like super pumped is seeing dudes like LeBron or like Rihanna like come out in the last few days and be like, Trump sucks. Like, you know what I mean? Like really start to say shit, like start to just be more than just this fucking the good times.
I 100% agree, especially the wave of athletes, you know, particularly the NFL right now coming out strongly anti-Trump and becoming, it's not just that they're all of a sudden anti-Trump, but you can tell they're becoming more comfortable talking about it.
Yeah.
And there's strength in numbers in it now.
Yeah.
And that's really inspiring to see. I think the DJ world in general does we do okay. You know, I think it's a good group of people. I think it's mostly people whose views align with mine and whose views I agree with, progressive people, good people, caring people. But yeah, there definitely is sort of a line some people won't cross and I don't know if it's they just don't want to fuck with their money or if they think, you know, making themselves political will lose them fans or I don't know what it is, but
it's definitely all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, I feel the same way too, but inside it just overwhelmed, like, you know what I mean? The actual reality of the world overwhelmed
we are reaching a breaking point.
Yeah, we're reaching a breaking point, and like, I'm cool to like just be chill or whatever, but like at a certain point, it's like, I don't know, you got to get up and fight it, you know? Like, I don't know, I've always kind of feel like I'm like that, like, just like at a certain point, I just can't take shit anymore, you know what I mean? And like, you got to like...
Well, and there's this weird perception that I think for a while it was almost cool to kind of not care. You know, I remember maybe 5-10 years ago, I would have artist friends who would almost like brag that they didn't vote and didn't know about politics or anything like that. And I was never exactly like that, but certainly there were times where I was less engaged than I am now. And now I think we're getting to this point where it actually can be perceived as cool, finally, to be informed and to be active and to speak up for, you know, things you think are wrong or unjust. And I like that because I'm an escapist, you know, and I use music and I use movies and TV and everything to escape for sure. And I want my music to be that for other people. But at the same time, I think I think there's a gray area where you can have your cake and eat it too, where your music can be an escape. We can all come together at a show and have a good time and forget about our cares, but still sort of have that understanding that we're like-minded people and that when we wake up the next day, we'll still stand up for, you know, what we think is right.
I mean, I guess, I totally agree because it's like I hate Liam Gallagher, but I still listen to Wonderwall. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't agree with what Liam Gallagher says half the time, but like Oasis is still a good band to me.
Oh, yeah.
just be you, basically. I mean, for some people, it's not them.
Right.
For me, it's fucking me. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna fucking shut up. Like,
I mean, I can only imagine, I'm a white guy born and raised in America for many generations. And I would imagine your experience as, the son of immigrants yourself coming here, it's got to strike home even more so,
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm not gonna like say like I have felt racism for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it's to the point where it's like crippled my life. But it's there, and like you can never describe it to someone else because it's not like an instance. Or it's not like I had rocks thrown at me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but it's like you can't really convey that to someone like that hasn't experienced it because it's like so subtle sometimes that you just feel it. Like, you don't even know how to like say what someone did, but
sure,
you just feel it.
And maybe that person didn't even know what they were doing.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just something ingrained in them societally. It's a really weird sort of rabbit hole to go down.
Even with offhanded jokes sometimes. And like, I try to like not be too serious. Like, I don't know, I posted a photo the other day. I don't know if you saw it. It's basically a sign on my green room and it said Wax Motif, but the photo behind it was Steve Aoki.
Right.
And I posted on a day where everyone was really touchy and like I kind of knew maybe I'd hit a nerve with one or two people. But I guess when my response to them was like, look, these guys are my friends and I know the intention behind it was like in good fun. It's not malicious, and I think like there can be a difference. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
absolutely, yeah. I mean, jokes between friends and loved ones and people you trust.
Yeah.
That's a different
like
thing.
some people can take it really, really, really seriously, and like you got to look at the intent. You can mean well and like have fun, and you can be serious and actually like be.
Do you ever look at it that way as far as, representing Chinese people or even Asian people in dance music? Because at least in the States, there's, dance music is not as diverse as we'd like to think it is, you know, as far as the people who are headlining these festivals, doing all these tours every day. It's not that diverse. I mean, I can think of maybe less than 10 Asian DJs that I know who are really on the circuit, as opposed to, white people. I can think of hundreds.
My thing is not really just for dance music specifically, but for like, I guess like youth or like cool culture.
Sure, yeah.
Like growing up, like Asian people like weren't cool. I think there were other kids all around the world in my age bracket growing up at that same time. So someone that is like, I'm friends with now, like fortunately enough, but really like inspired like my new wave of like thinking, or even like my new way of thinking about my past is like Eddie Wong from Vice, right?
Yeah.
He said it like, we're born in these countries, we're growing up alongside these kids. So to us, we seem the same, but we can't work out why we're different. You know what I mean? And like,
that's a really good way to put it.
it's like, it didn't make sense to me. Like, I was born in Australia, I went to high school with all these kids, and like, I know I'm physically different, but like, I still don't get why I'm not cool. Why hot girls don't like me in high school and shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, it wasn't like a conscious thing, but I guess something inside me has always been to like prove that we can be cool. Meeting people like Eddie, or like, Abdul, like Abdullah from Bon Appetit, or like just anyone, like, anyone that's like ethnic, like even Jai Wolf and like Manila Killer and shit. And like, you can be cool. And like, pretty blonde girls can like you. You know what I mean? Shit like that.
Yeah.
So it's more than just EDM for me. It's everything.
Right.
It's like, and there's so many cool dudes that I'm probably not shouting out, like Matt Wang from Pizza Slime.
Sure,
like one of the coolest motherfuckers out. I don't know. I can't think of, Aoki, like, no matter what you think of Steve, he's still fucking cool. You know what I mean?
He's very cool. I like him a lot, and I think he's done a lot for the perception of minorities.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, that's what I want to be, someone that can contribute to that. Or like Toki Monster, or like. And
it's funny because even as we're having this conversation, I'm realizing there are actually more minorities and more Asian people than I had thought 5 minutes ago.
Yeah,
and
man.
so maybe even I have that ingrained in me, just to think that there's not that there isn't still an issue there, but maybe I need to be more aware of it happening around me. You know what I mean?
The craziest is seeing like Asian people in urban music now. That's the craziest.
That's the new wave, right?
Yeah. It's like really going to be a thing.
Well, I mean, with the urban music, there's a lot happening right now, and it's interesting how it happened because at first, for me, the way I started experiencing it was imports from other countries. So there would be Korean rappers, that we would get their big single over here, and all the DJs would be excited about it. Or then someone like a Rich Chigga who would make these songs that were sort of half jokes, but also he was really good at rapping.
Yeah.
And it's been this sort of slow transition to now. I do feel like if the right person came along, the States would be pretty ready to accept just a banger rap song from an Asian person.
Hell yeah. I mean, you need people like Rich Chigga to kind of break through, through the wall a bit. And like, he's doing a great job. But that's what I was gonna say. There's have you heard of like Dr. Wu, the tattoo
I know the
artist?
name, but I don't know much about him.
He's incredible, like such a dope tattoo artist. Or like Ben Baller, the jeweler. It's mad cool Asian people. So like, shout out Asian people.
Well, maybe that's really it. Maybe it's time. It's a time when minorities and Asian people specifically can sort of come off the sidelines.
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously, like minorities have been involved in the music game and just the culture game, for lack of a better word, forever. And most of the cool culture comes from minorities. I mean, dance music certainly does.
Yeah.
And so maybe we're just reaching that point where it's hopefully time we can actually spotlight some of those, the originals,
Yeah, it'll be cool.
Back to you at age 16, 17, 18, 19. Did you go to university?
Yeah, I did. I didn't have a choice.
Okay.
Because, I mean,
serious parents here.
Yeah, I mean, university isn't like in America where it's like a really, really big financial burden. Like, we have our college like pretty heavily subsidized. So there's almost no excuse to not go if you don't like at least get a pretty good, like a half decent score,
Yeah.
And so like, my parents were like, you're going. Like, I mean, they were even in high school. My mom didn't let me do art. I really went to art class.
Really?
My art teacher was like, you should let him do art. Mom was like, no.
She just thought it was frivolous.
He's doing 4-unit English, 4-unit maths. Like, he's doing all those.
Wow.
And so I did really high grade of maths because that seems easy to me. Like 1 + 1 = 2. Like there's no fucking gray area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're right or you're wrong. I did like 4-unit English. I was like, I don't fucking get it. Like I don't get Shakespeare. Like I don't get it. I don't get like there can be 10 million ways to interpret something and still have the right answer.
Yeah, there
like,
is no right
it doesn't
or wrong.
So I ended up dropping out of English, but I kept the math component. And so obviously when I went to college, all my choices were like, finance, business based. And I ended up, just taking economics. Like, I didn't even know why. And I hated it, but I graduated. It took me a year extra because I was like, halfway through, I was like so close to just burning out.
Really?
And just like, I fucking hate this. Like, I wasn't going to class. So I took like a bit of time off. When I came back, I was like, you've got literally 6 months left.
Right.
Like, just fucking do it.
Bear down, yeah.
Yeah, and then your parents can get off your back. So, yeah, I had to.
Was that the requirement once you were done with university? Then they were, a little bit more hands-off about it?
Yeah, in a way, it wasn't ever said like that, but in a way I knew they would be because what else could they force me to do after that?
Right.
And so I graduated and I was doing job interviews. Like, I remember like putting on a suit and going to like PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I was sitting in this fucking interview. And this guy was just like, what high school did you go to,
Yeah.
all this shit. It almost didn't matter. It was like a boys club in a way, you know what I mean? It's
right.
like, what connections do you have to someone that we like? And I was just like, yo, this ain't for me. I realized at that time like how corporate structure and climbing the ladder was going to be. And
yeah. Well, and certainly if you hated the school experience, that's no reason to think you wouldn't hate the actual work.
Man, I basically like had to sit down with my mom one day and was like, I'm not going to do this, but like, I don't know if I'm going to do it. Maybe I will, but like I need a year to just like do whatever the fuck I want. She was like, okay, go for it.
Did you have any idea what you wanted to do in that year?
Yeah, DJing. While I was in college, I had started, goofy DJing.
Yeah.
Like, not like...
house parties and...
Yeah, not even though. A
just
few
in
house
your
parties
room.
just in my room. Like, I think I entered a DJ competition at my college, and like I got smoked. Like I came last. Like
What kind of music, what kind of DJing at this early stage were you doing?
Australia was really into like breakbeat then. You know, Groove Armada, Stanton Warriors, Crafty Carts.
I really
Plump
didn't
DJs.
realize how big breaks were in Australia.
Huge,
I was
huge.
there like a year ago, right around New Year's last year, and I played Breakfest in Perth, which, I couldn't even believe there was a festival based around breaks. And then the headliners were all these guys who I was used to seeing as headliners 10 years ago, exactly who you said, you know, Crafty Cuts and Plump DJs. Yeah, that blew my mind, man. And so were you in big with the breaks movement? Was that kind of your shit at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't in the scene, you know, so like...
Yeah. But a fan even?
Yeah, because that's what was playing everywhere. I was a fan of like rap music, so like Biggie, Tupac, 50 Cent's first, like Get Rich or Die Trying, like G-Unit, Beg for Mercy, like, you know, so like really heavy into rap shit, pretty heavy into like breakbeat. I mean, before that was like trance music. So like in high school at 16, I started going to raves because like you couldn't really go anywhere else.
Right.
And so like we'd go to these raves. I'm pretty sure my mom knows because there's some nights I came home like glow in the dark pants, like destroyed. Like, where have you been all night? Like walk in the house at like literally like 8 a.m. when I'm like 16 years old.
Parents always know, man.
Yeah. So I was going to raves, like, you know, I already enjoyed dance music from the age of like 16.
Yeah.
And rap. And so by the time college hit, I was kind of over my trance thing, and breaks was everywhere. Like every nightclub was playing breaks, and there was a really big party called Funk Trust going on, which was like the shit. I mean, those guys were the center of everything going on.
Was dance music in Australia at that time, was it more of a mainstream thing, or was it still pretty underground at that point? Like, was it on the radio? Was it a popular, you know, in high school, were a lot of people listening to trance or to breaks?
Yeah, they were. I mean, it wasn't like crazy popular on radio or that kind of shit, but, you know, if you went to like any nightclub that was like half cool, it would be like some kind of house music or dance music. Yeah. Australia's been into dance music for a long ass time.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, in today's day and age, it's really the States and Australia are the two, you know, barometers, I think, for dance music. Yeah. And it's interesting to me, not knowing much about, you know, the history of music in Australia, how that developed. But yeah, I'm not surprised at all to hear that, you know, you guys have been on that shit for a long time.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is the hemispheres. Because when everyone else is in winter, we're in summer. You end up getting artists from everywhere, like the best artists from all around the world in Australia in December.
Yeah, because
there's nowhere else for them to go. Yeah, there's nowhere else really to tour. Like we have so many festivals over summer, and I think that's why we got to the point where we were so big. Like we literally had that wave in Australia like 2 years before America had the wave. And so it was like watching history repeat itself here, like interesting.
That is interesting. And so when you were sort of starting off DJing just in your room, all of that, was there ever a moment very early on where you played a really good show, or you did a mix you thought was great, or somebody gave you a compliment where you thought, you know, maybe I'm good at this, maybe this could be something I could pursue more seriously? Or was it just kind of a gradual?
It was, I mean, a lot of the really early stuff was gradual. Like, you know, I used to like just make mixes. I would literally burn CDs, and then I would go to fucking nightclubs. I'd put them all in my backpack, and I'd go to every club I wanted to play at, and I'd fucking harass the shit out of someone until like I found the person to get my tape to. Yeah. So eventually, one day, I got a phone call. I mean, and by this stage, I'd only played maybe twice in public. So I had 2 shows at this dodgy ass dive bar that played hip hop, and you know, it was in the front room. And then I got a phone call from like Paul As a Party, who, if you've been to Australia anytime recently,
Paul. Yeah, I mean, that's
who Paul As a Party is.
That's my agent in Australia, man. I love him. Yeah.
So so Paul, shout out Paul, you know, hit me up and was like, "Yo, I got this slot for you to play in the bar at Chinese Laundry at the very top, right? So not even like the main nightclub,
right? Chinese Laundry, legendary club in Sydney.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I went and played. And that night, Ajax was playing. And Ajax is like the god, aka, like, first of all. But he, you know, at the time was like the #1 DJ in Australia for like 3 years. So he's like the Tiesto of Australia. And he was headlining the club that night. And like, I get a tap on my shoulder. like kind of near the end of my set. I turn around and it's fucking Ajax. And I'm like, yo, what's up, man? He's like, bro, I had to come and like meet you. You're fucking awesome. Like, I know who the fuck you are, but like me and Paul were just sitting here having beers, like listening to you. And he's like, this is amazing. Like shit, okay. And then the next week or like 2 weeks later, he was like blowing up my name in like 3D World, which is like the music like publication in Australia.
Yeah.
And then not long after, I ended up signing my first record to his label, Sweat It Out, which he started with Yolanda Be Cool. Yeah, it kind of kicked it all off for me.
That's so cool, man. That's such a great story, and I think such a rare occurrence when a big headliner will actually not only listen to the smaller DJs playing that night, but even, take the time to come up and talk to them, and it sounds like maybe even become a mentor to a certain extent.
Dude, he was everyone's like idol. Like you can talk to What's So Not, Motez, like all of them.
Yeah.
Like Flume, everybody grew up listening to Ajax, and he's a better DJ than fucking anybody. Like half the people out now, better DJ than me. Better like, if you watch the way What's So Not DJs, it's like how Ajax DJs.
Based off of that.
He pretty much like learned from Ajax.
Huh.
So like the style is like crazy. It's cool.
I love hearing about that kind of shit, man, because that's in the States. Probably a lot of people don't know that name, but the people responsible for launching all these careers.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're unsung, and I think it's important to talk about them like that.
Totally. I mean, you've definitely heard of What's So Not, and like he's someone as well who has been grinding away, was playing, same clubs, same shit. Same with Alice in Wonderland. Same with Anna Luno. We're all from that little shitty bar hopping, trying to just survive.
So how did it evolve for you once you had, played that first show and met Ajax and, you were in contact with Paul, was throwing you some shows here and there? Were you starting to produce music around the same time?
Yeah, I was, but it was shitty. And like...
I mean, everyone is shitty at the start.
Yeah, I realized, like, because when I was like kind of starting to try and become a professional, it was the tide was turning. It was like CDJs. Like I was using Serato, but I knew that I just couldn't see like the future here because I'd go to a club, the turntables wouldn't even work.
Right.
Like, all right. And it was like the time when I really realized like you have to produce music. And I'm probably one of the like earlier people from my country to realize that. So I started going headfirst into production. I almost just gave up on trying to like scratch and be like DMC.
Right.
God. Well, I mean, actually, so like I wanted to be that, right? I played a bunch of shows in Sydney, and one of them was like a tour I did with Z-Trip and Craze, which is
huge.
For me, they're like two of the three guys that I look up to in DJing that like are the reason why I wanted to be like a DJ.
Yeah, they're some of the best.
And so I would be opening for these guys, and I'd like, be trying to put together some routine. And then I think after the first one, I was like, this is dumb because nothing you do is going to even come close to a blip of what these guys are going to do after you. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So like, why don't you just focus on playing really cool tunes and setting the vibe really good and like actually be a good, that was like when being a good opener occurred to me as well.
Sure, yeah. I think that's a great point too that I try to make as much as I can is that all of us are passionate about music, and we all have a lot of different interests. We can make a lot of different kinds of music. We can play a lot of different kinds. We can change the way we DJ, scratching, not scratching, long mixes, short mixes, anything. But if you can find where you fit in, that I think is almost a second skill that people need to work on as far as figure out what you're good at, but then also figure out what is an underserved area that you can kind of come and take over, rather than you were talking about trying to be better at scratching than Craze and Z-Trip. Like, nobody's going to do that.
Yeah, no, literally.
You're right. And so even if you love it, and even if you're good at it, if you're trying to think of it from a professional standpoint, right, it's like maybe that's not going to see the most success, right?
No.
Once you started figuring that out, how did that affect your DJing and your production? Were you taking it more seriously at that point?
At this point, so in the year off, I took a job at the World Bar, which is like another bar in Sydney, which is also where I like kind of learnt Like for me, World Bar is my home.
I played a set at World Bar my last Australian tour. It was amazing.
So like I would play in that front room like 4 nights a week for like 5 hours, that kind of shit. So that's where I really cut my teeth. And I was working at the bar in the daytime as well.
Okay.
In the office. And by that time I had like quit. I had saved up like $2,000, got some offers to go on tour, and I was like, I quit. So this was the time that I was kind of living just off DJing by now, but not like, living in a share house with some homies and being a kid,
Scraping by, but doing, it's okay to scrape by at that age, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did it evolve? I mean, did you accept those tour offers? Did you start traveling a bit?
Yeah, I mean, from that point for the next few years, it was kind of just like, it evolved, but it never got to what I guess anybody that's listening to this knows of me. Like,
Right.
You wouldn't have heard of me at this point still, and it was just like...
Would people in Australia have heard of you at that point?
Yeah, you're just big domestically, you know what I mean? And like, there's not that many cities you can play, so like, you play 5 cities, that's pretty much it. And
I think about that too. I was thinking about that on the drive over here. Did it start to feel restrictive after a while? Because I mean, like we were saying earlier, Australian listeners are very passionate. There's a rich culture, a rich history there. But just in terms of the business and the limits of your career, did it start to feel restrictive?
it was a combination of restrictive and me not feeling like I fit in. Nobody liked rap music that much. You know what I mean? There weren't that many people into rap music. I mean, during this time was like big room EDM.
Yeah.
So nobody really like house music even. Like when I did Go Deep, it's like some deep house shit. If you like listen to the original of Go Deep.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorites. So I played that all the time back in the day.
Thanks, man. And it's like, I mean, at the time it came out, like it came out on Fatboy Slim's label. It was charted by Diplo and A-Track. And it's just like, nobody in Australia gave a fuck about me. And I was like, okay, I just did this release. It's doing really well elsewhere. I just worked on Crooker's album, had a song with them. I just came back from Europe doing shows with Crookers. And like, I'm in this country where it's just, they don't care.
Yeah.
I'm in a system that is like, it's too small to be really competitive. Like, it's either like fit into our system or you don't get paid, And it's
Right.
like, and again, this is just me personally, but for me and like the way I grew up and the music I like and the stuff I thought was cool, like A-Track and stuff like that. And it just like, I don't know, it wasn't, it got to a point where I felt like there was no reason to stay.
Yeah.
Especially when I got a US visa. Because if the US government's gonna like grant you the permission.
Yeah, and those are hard to get.
They're hard to get. They're not like, not everyone from Australia gets a fucking US visa. So I think the minute I got the visa, it was so obvious to just go.
Over.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, I'm already doing stuff with like Dim Mak at this point and
Right.
Fool's Gold. Like, why am I in Australia?
So, I mean, leading up to that point, who were some of the first people from outside the country, from the scene at large, who noticed you and started, connecting with you? How did that come about?
I mean, it wasn't like anything crazy. It would be like little things like Diplo charting it on Beatport or like A-Track or like Laid Back Luke was like really, like in the early days, Laid Back Luke was someone that was,
Yeah, he's always had a really good kind of A&R ear. He's always finding really cool young artists.
Yeah, I mean, internationally, it was probably those guys, but it's not to say that any of them like co-signed me so hard that it broke me out. It was just like, there's this kid out there who's doing something.
You were building momentum.
Yeah, building momentum. Yeah, I guess it encouraged me to move and try to kind of be more in their faces.
Well, and you said you were touring Europe with Crookers and...
yeah, I mean, that's actually where I met Diplo physically for the first time.
Out in Europe?
Yeah, so we were in Berlin and we were playing a show that night and he was playing a show that day with, I think it was Childish Gambino on like a beach in Berlin.
Okay.
And like, fuck it. All right, we went.
Yeah, why not?
And it started raining and we were just on this beach in Berlin, like a man-made beach in Berlin in the rain. But it kind of was, I realized, you got to be present. You can't be on the other side of the world and expect it to happen for you. Like,
sure, yeah. And online networking can only take you so far at the same time, right?
Actually, I got a really good story. I wanted to like somehow tweet this today. I don't know. It's actually perfect that this is happening. My friend out of high school, he's in music too, and he was like, I want to work for Ableton. Basically, packed his bags, flew to Germany, walked into Ableton's front office and was like, I need an interview. They gave him an interview and he got a job.
Wow.
Sometimes you just got to show up.
100%, man. I mean, I love stories like that.
Yeah.
That's how I started kind of my real career, was when I moved to Chicago. I didn't have any reason to go there. I just knew that was where a lot of the music I liked was being made, and a lot of the DJs I liked were doing it there. And it was the same thing. I just showed up and kind of started telling people that I was there and I was now part of the scene. And, you know, you say it enough times, and if people see you're a hard worker and have something to offer, you know, half the time they'll let you do it.
Dude, it's like fake it till you make it is the realest thing.
Yeah.
It's not the nicest way to say it, but like, you're not born a DJ. You got to think you're a DJ.
And then you become a DJ, the reality is
that
that as you get older and you see people, and this applies not just to music, but almost to any job. I mean, no one knows what they're doing. Everyone's still faking it.
Yeah, exactly.
Even at the highest levels, I think most people kind of have no clue.
Yeah.
You know, as you get older, you learn tips and tricks and you gain experience, which is really the only real wisdom we can have in this life, I think.
Yeah.
But still, nobody knows.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about how you actually did come to America. Was that a conversation you had to have with your parents? Was that a conversation you had to have with anyone you were working with musically? Or did you pretty much just on your own say, I'm doing it?
I mean, so at the time, I already had just started working with people in America. So I had an agent out here.
What year was this?
This would have been like 3 years ago now.
Okay.
4 years ago.
Not that long ago.
Yeah. So this is like, you know, I've only been in America for like, I mean, just under 4 years now. Moved out here with like someone I was like with at the time. But she wanted to move to America anyway too. So it was perfect.
Right.
And so we moved, and that first year was hard. First year was pretty much a write-off because you're trying to get established.
It's kind of like starting over in a way.
Yeah,
right?
And me and my chick at the time, it was like not going well. So just dealing with a lot of that. And eventually, you know, that fell apart. You know, at the end of that year, I was pretty much done.
Just over the whole thing.
Over it. The scene out here is like, it's I don't know.
Was it like a small fish in a big pond kind of scenario?
Yeah, but I don't want to talk trash on the city, but it's just kind of like, you just fall into that partying shit.
Yep.
You know, and like...
Oh, that's very easy to happen.
It's really easy to think you're killing it and you're not killing it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, you can think you're killing it, and in reality what you're doing is kind of partying every week.
Yeah, exactly. And I was really in that mode, and I was really... I was broke at this point. I had no money left. I had everything in my car. Literally, I was going to sleep in my car, and like...
So at that point, shows and music and all that hadn't really given you much money?
I had nothing. Yeah, I had nothing. Like, my agency dropped me. Like, the agency I was with dropped me.
Yeah.
Management didn't work out, so it was like we separated ways there. So I literally had nothing at that point.
Yeah.
I remember, like, I was like, I'm fucked. I'm about to go home. And, you know, fucking shout out motherfucking Jesse Rose. That guy, like, saved my ass.
Really?
Yeah.
What did he do?
I had everything in my car. I'd outstayed my last welcome on my last couch, you know?
Yeah.
And I'd been trying to call Jesse, and he calls me, and he's like, yo, what's up, man? I'm really sorry. I've been in Europe. I told him everything. He goes, man, come to my house now. I'll go to bed for you.
Wow.
He's like, pay me whatever you can. I don't really care, you know, and just we'll work it out from there.
That's pretty big, man.
I owe Jesse, like, you know.
That's, yeah.
And again, probably something I haven't said enough times, I guess. When you just, like, I haven't had a lot of reflection time because I'm just trying to hustle, you know?
Yeah, none of us do.
Yeah, but he really came through. And, like, you know, same with Brett Fisher, David Adcock, like the other guys in the house. That was a bad time for me, you know? And, like, they were super patient. Like, Brett especially was, like, such a good dude. I don't know if... Brett works with, like, Chris Lake and Cut Snake and stuff. And, like, he's, like, such a nice, patient dude. And, like, you know, would take me to San Diego and, like, hang out with his family. And, you know what I mean? Try and get me out and active and, like, bring me back to life.
Yeah, were you just kind of depressed and sticking to yourself at that point?
Yeah, but, like, and clueless about how to actually go forward.
Right.
Like, you know, but It was the first time I really had to like go, oh, maybe you don't know what, like just like how we said Ajax was the one that gave you the confidence to be like, I can do this. Maybe it's like maybe you really can't do this. Maybe you could do this in the one little pond you were in and that was it.
Right. Yeah, confronting those insecurities, which all of us have, that's hard to do, man.
It was fucked. But, from there, that was kind of like that was like the lowest point.
Yeah.
So it's good I haven't ever gone back to that low point. And I managed to like, first I paid him $250 a month, and I paid him $500 a month, and I paid him like, $1,000 a month or whatever.
Right.
And, eventually kind of got my way back.
Well, and I think, we've all had not that exact situation, obviously, but, I think all of us who have made a career out of this have had those moments of dark times or financial trouble or just insecurity about where you fit in, any of that.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of takes hitting that bottom to be able to bounce back and do it the right way, because without those darker experiences, then we wouldn't know how to avoid it for the next time,
Exactly.
or what we did wrong in the first place. I think I'm a strong believer that kind of the only way I can really learn anything is by screwing it up first.
Yeah, that's pretty true. I mean, this obviously hasn't been a perfect run since then, but yeah, like you said, it was important to have that.
How did you turn it around? What was sort of the start of the comeback? Was it just sort of slowly getting back into the work groove and humbling yourself a little bit and just kind of doing the work? Or was there more of kind of an event or something that turned it around?
As much as I hate to admit it, like I know that a lot of times I'm one of those like self-sabotaging artists.
Oh, sure.
Like I need
I'm that
pain.
100%.
Yeah, I need the pain to write good music. So basically, I was just writing music every day. But some of the nicest stuff, some of them still my favorite stuff because I know that I can feel the feeling still.
Brings you back.
Yeah, brings me back. There's some of my songs that I listen back to, and it always makes me feel that way. But it's good because I believe that, you should write from the heart. You should write your music from the heart. You should finish it with your head.
That's a good way to put it.
All the core soul of your song has to come from a place where you have that soul. Basically.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you start a song with a very intellectual idea,
it never comes out.
Right, it's never going to be what you want it to be.
If you sit down and you go, I want to make this song, it never turns out.
Right.
If you just go with it, you get something special. So yeah, I just was working in Jesse's studio every single day, 12 hours a day, working on everything, working on everyone's stuff, the kids' stuff, my stuff, whoever.
Right.
Anyone that wanted. I remember Pixel Boys came through at the time. I just gave them some engineering help on Black December, their first release. And so that kind of shit, whatever, just anything to keep me working.
Yeah, and, just being creative.
Yeah.
Not even necessarily knowing the purpose of it right
exactly.
away.
And at the time I started going to the studio with Oliver, who are on Fool's Gold.
Amazing producers.
Yeah, who are my fucking idols. I mean, and really good friends. I actually spoke to Vaughn today. And I would go studio with them, and eventually that led to me meeting Destructo and then working with him. And then also led to my publishing deal, which I'm now signed to Pulse, which is where Oliver is signed.
Oh, great.
And yeah, they cut me a check and kind of got me back on my feet, gave me a studio. I was working with Gary, which is again, getting some cash and just kind of getting more into the scene. And
well, and that relationship with Gary Destructo turned into a pretty big partnership for you, right? Over the years.
I mean, yeah, it's still going. We talked today about some songs we got to finish.
I'm trying to get him on this show, man.
Oh, that's easy. I text him for you.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, shout out Gary and Vaughn and Ollie from Oliver. Because, I mean, really, without Vaughn, again, Vaughn was the only person in that week when I had those weeks when nobody would pick up the phone, nobody would return my emails, nobody would do anything. Vaughn would be like, all right, come over.
It's so rare in this game, man. I mean, I think we have to celebrate those people in our lives. And there's maybe 4 or 5 for me. It's the same way. I could count them easily.
They're there at the really important moment.
Yeah, and, there were definitely, for me too, in my darker times, I would reach out to lots of people for help. And only a very few would actually
Hit you back.
literally help. Some people would hit me back, but it's very few who would actually expend effort to help me, And it's those people that I think we just can never forget about,
Yeah, I mean, I think, sometimes like people don't understand why I'm so loyal. And it's like, like you weren't in my situation where I had no money and I was about to fucking eat like a fucking shoe for dinner. Like, you know what I mean? When you know what that feels like, and then that person that comes along and like gives you fucking a hot meal, bruh, like you gotta like, I mean, yeah, those two guys at that point and Jesse were really like, like actually trying to help me get back on my feet and become independent, not just like, use me or just try and be cool or whatever. But.
So how did the relationship with Destructo evolve over time? Were you kind of just doing what you were saying earlier, helping out with little production tweaks here and there, some engineering?
No, because that was the kind of the start of the whole G House thing. So at the time, he wasn't really kind of on that wave yet. And
I mean, am I wrong to say you could be considered one of the figureheads of that scene?
Yeah,
One of the torchbearers?
Yeah, I mean, I think my Tinashe remix is probably the first thing out there that really does the halftime, double time house thing. And you know what, for me, it was just like, I wanted to play that Tinashe song. My friend from Australia sent me it, and I was like, I need a drop so that I can play it.
Right.
Gary was like wanting to do houseier stuff, and he's also into rap,
Oh, yeah.
So I think when we linked up and he was like, wow, okay, this is actually I think like Vaughn and Ollie were like, you need to go hang out with Waxy because this is perfect for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's the dude that's like, doing what you want to do. And when we linked up, that was pretty much it. It was like, oh, we both want to do the same thing. Okay, let's do it then. And then I think that day was when we did the YG Party Up record.
Big record, man.
Yeah, that was hard. I mean, the vocal was meant to be for his record Technology, before that, the really banging one. And it's like, didn't fit. But he's like, yo, I got this YG. And YG at the time, like My Hitter wasn't even out yet.
Right. Yeah.
This was Tooted and Booed at YG. Yeah. This wasn't the YG you know now. I didn't even know who YG was.
Right.
I was like, all right, I'm just going to take your word for it and go with it. And we went with it. And that led us to like kind of remixing My Hitter. And like from there, like, I got offered Stoner and like so many of those early remixes with like, major labels like RCA, like I did the Kidding Dej Loaf thing with Gladiator. Like
Yeah. And that's interesting too, because I think the more common route for a lot of DJs would be that they were bootlegging these remixes and didn't have approval and weren't plugged in. But it's interesting that you were able to sort of just start off, kind of linked in.
Oh no, and they were so the Tinashe was a bootleg.
Oh, was it? Okay.
But then because we did the YG record, that was official.
Right.
Then they heard like the guys that did Stoner, the Young Thug record, heard that one. So then I did that one official. But the Kidding and Dej Loaf one, again, is a bootleg.
Okay.
But then RCA heard that and they knew the other stuff. I was like, we'll pay you to not put it out for free.
Okay.
They're like, we'll pay, like, because we were like, we're going SoundCloud live tomorrow, fuck you. Like, how about instead of like, instead of us banning it and blah, 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 like, why don't we just pay you? You just let us release it.
Right.
And like, we'll do it. Like, all right, cool, let's do it that way. But I mean, to be honest, for me, a lot of my best remixes have to be bootlegs because if I do it naturally, it comes out.
Right, it's what we were saying earlier.
Yeah,
right?
If I was going to bootleg anyway, it always comes out super dope. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. Did you ever get in the studio with some of the vocalists you were working with?
Yeah, I've been around YG a few times, but not in the studio. But I mean, Ty Dolla Sign, been in the studio with him twice.
Okay.
3 times now. It was Warren G.
What was working with Warren G like?
It was interesting. Basically, he didn't want to start recording till he had weed. So he waited for the weed.
Standard.
Then he smoked the weed and then he kind of like fell asleep on the couch. Like we were kind of just sitting there like, oh, do we wake him up? Do we just keep working on the beat?
Because you guys are all there for him.
Yeah. So I mean, that one was a little awkward in the end, but we got the job done in the end. But I mean, going to E40's like crib in like Oakland. It's like sick.
That's pretty legendary.
Pull up to the crib. It's like gated community shit.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's like, I don't know, it's surreal because like Hi-Fi was big in Australia. Kick the Sneak and E40 and shit. Like we got that in Australia. That's like
Really?
that was rap we got. Yeah, we didn't get like young like Jeezy and stuff wasn't big in.
The Southern hip hop.
Yeah,
wasn't so big,
nah, we never got like Gucci Mane and shit. But the hyphy stuff was there. And so like E40 was like my favorite fucking rapper.
Oh, wow, okay.
Of the new school West Coast dudes.
Yeah.
So like for me, it's like obviously with current rappers like Ty Dolla Sign I love. But Ty Dolla Sign's not someone I grew up
right.
like loving. E40 is someone that like, I was like geeked.
Yeah.
I was like geeked. And he's like, we get there, and he's like rolling me up fucking massive joints and like.
Right. I mean, you seem like a pretty collaborative person. You're working on your own music. You're working on other people's projects. You're working with all these vocalists.
Yeah.
Is collaboration something you really enjoy? Is that something you look for?
Yeah. I think music is a group exercise anyway.
Yeah.
Even if you look at like tribes banging on a drum, dancing around a fire. It wasn't one guy dancing around a fire with one drum.
Yeah.
It was 100 people with 100 drums,
I like that.
That's what makes music. Like for me, it is collaborative. It's more fun for me. When I mean, I can make music by myself. There's no problem there, but like it's not as fun because I'm sitting there over analyzing my decisions every 2 seconds of the day. If I'm with someone, like it's just like, yo, what you did sucks. Let me try. Or like they'll be like, what you did sucks. But in saying that, it's not collaborate with everyone.
Right.
It's collaborate with people that like I either already like musically or like I feel like can fill the skill set I don't have.
Right.
Which is really important for me. I don't believe in working with anyone that's just going to bring the same thing as me because like what's the point? I can just do that on my own,
Sure, yeah.
What I want is someone that can bring something that I'm like, okay, it's inspiring me to like have ideas,
Yeah, I like that. It reminds me of what you were saying earlier about touring with Craze and Z-Trip, where, you sort of figured out the best place for you to fit into that situation.
Yeah.
And that's what it makes sense that that's what you would look for in somebody you work with.
Yeah.
Is someone who can complement what you do.
And that's my other thing too, like you can't ruin the song. So like if you're gonna contribute ideas, it can't be because you feel left out. Like I've been in sessions and like been like, okay, well, I don't really need to interject. So like, don't worry about it. Like you don't need to include me. You know what I mean? Like my involvement in the song has to be to make the song better.
Right.
And if it doesn't, I'm going to shut my mouth. And I don't care if I miss out on like a split. That's fine. It's like you can't be. There's plenty of people that just want to inject an idea because they want to be involved in the song.
Yeah, it's an ego thing.
Yeah,
right?
It's not because you're making the song better. And so like that's the thing. If I like open my mouth, it's got to be because I think it could be better. Like there's a song I'm working on right now with someone, and they keep sending me new versions, and I'm like, because up until now it's all gone pretty smooth, and we've gotten it done really well executed.
Yeah.
And I'm at my third revision on this last part of the song, and I'm like, look, I'm not normally like this because until now we've had no problems. Like, but if it's really not there, it's not there. And like, this is the last part of the song. Why would you let it go? And like, why would you fumble the ball on the fucking 5-yard line? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, we're almost there. So
some people have a lot of trouble with that last 5%, man. Just finishing the last 10% even.
Yeah, that's a really hard part. Like starting ideas is fun and easy.
Right.
Finishing was hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're going to open your mouth, construct, like it's got to be for the benefit of the song.
Is that something, down the line for the future, is that something you plan on continuing? Because I know you work on other people's projects, you work on your own projects. Down the line, do you want to keep that balance, or are you sort of at a point where you want to really step out for yourself and put a stamp on something that's all your own?
Well, I mean, I definitely want to step up for myself, but I don't feel like it means I can't do the other stuff at the same time.
Sure.
I think all it means is to just be more focused in your delivery of your own project, and then working out what you can do with the ideas you've made that don't suit it.
That's that signature sound idea that comes up on this show a lot, is, just having a body of work you're proud of, but that anyone can listen to and just be like, oh, that's him.
Yeah. I mean, see, like, if I make music and I go, I need to make this today, it doesn't really work.
Right.
So I tend to just make whatever I want. Like, it could be a fucking ambient song, it could be a disco song, whatever. And then I'll just like put it to the side. We'll go through all the ideas and put them into folders. So like, this is Wax Motif. This isn't Wax Motif. Like,
right.
This is maybe for, let's transcend this to like, I sent some shit to like Chris Brown last week because it's like clearly not going to be my record, but I made it and it's fucking dope.
Right,
and like
right.
the top line's dope. I got this dope kid to sing on it. Like I didn't even know why, just because it's like I need to just make this song. It's dope, you know. It's
Right,
like,
yeah, that's
now
what
what
you
do
were
we do with
feeling.
it? Yeah, it's like, hey, let's not fuck Wax's energy by telling him what he can and can't do. Just let him be as energetic as he wants and make everything, and then we'll kind of like plan it out. But that's a good thing about having my publishers, and like I think people see that in me anyway. They see that that's how I am, and like
You've come up on this show a couple times, and every time people basically say that you're an extremely hard worker and really fast and efficient in the studio and just making shit all the time.
yeah, I mean, it's like I grew up when my dad would like be on the site, and like my parents didn't have money to like put me in like daycare or whatever. So I'd be sitting in the car like listening to radio for like 6 hours a day, reading a book, listening to the radio while my dad was like working. So I grew up listening to so much pop music. I want to be like Rick Rubin and Mark Ronson and Dr. Dre, Stuart Price, like these producers that can like record with U2 and Lady Gaga and then go make a fucking underground dance album with Diplo. Like that's what I want to be. I think that's why I built my skill set the way I did. I mean, that's probably why I'm not like this crazy poppin' DJ, but I know a lot of DJs that are bigger than me that lack the skill set I have.
100%.
And they don't have publishing deals because publishers don't feel the need to sign them, because what can you bring? Like besides weird dance noises? Like my publishers know I know how to write a song. They know I can go to studio with a rap dude and make a song. They know I can go to studio with a singer and make a song. They put me in studio with like a Latin artist the other week and we made a Latin song.
And to take it back to something we were talking about at the very beginning of this conversation is that, you know, we were talking about that everyone's trying to project this image of themselves as a rock star and, you know, this fake it till you make it kind of mentality. But I think that's a really interesting thing that you've done, is to kind of, you know, if you step away from making yourself the star being the number one priority, and you kind of look at, you know, the real value of music and your talents and what you, not only what you can provide to music and to fans, but also what music can provide for you, right? That to me is really interesting. I think a really valuable lesson, you know, for probably some of our listeners, and for me certainly, is just if you can take the ego out of it a little bit, I think that opens up a huge new world where you can kind of just be open to any opportunities and to embrace your creativity, right?
Yeah.
And not be locked into feeling like you have to be this one thing, this one brand.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a section of kids that just looks at like Tiesto and is like, okay, I want to be that. You know? Like for me, it's like, I want to live off my craft. Yeah. Like I have a skill set that I want to earn me money. So it's not that like, yeah, okay, I want to be Tiesto famous DJ.
Sure.
But it's, you know, on a deeper level, it's like earning off my skills.
Yeah, and I mean, that is the real dream. That's actual success.
Yeah, exactly. It's like an artist. Like, can I live off my skill of being a good painter? Like, can I live off my skill set? And like, I think that's why I just developed the way I did, because I was like, I can see avenues to make money off my skill set that don't just involve me being a headlining DJ.
Right.
To me, Mark Ronson is like the dude.
Yeah.
He can go headline Glastonbury with his own band. He can go fucking produce the whole Lady Gaga album, and then he can go DJ at the coolest underground club in wherever, you know?
And look great.
Doing it. Like, the guy's a fucking G. That's what I want. You know, I want to have that freedom. And I feel like someone like Kashmir Cat is now, like, he's like inspirational to me now, like Lido.
Sure.
Where they're those dudes that just like, yo, we go do this shit for the weekend and then we go DJ at like fucking Electric Forest. You know, like that, that's me. That's who I am.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, and let's not, you know, I feel like we're getting to this territory where we're sort of talking about you like you're not a headlining artist, but you are, and you've had, you know, you've worked with every big label in the dance world, lots of the majors like we talked about. Just real quickly, I wanted to sort of run down some of the label. Like, what was some of the early big releases for you that maybe changed the game for you or changed people's perceptions of you when you first moved out here?
I mean, Go Deep was kind of the first real thing that was noticeable. And because the remixes went so far, and then basically a year later, Aoki was like, I want to sign this. We were like, dude, it's been out for a year. And he's like, all right, I'll re-sign it. And he re-signed it for America. And he did a new remix pack. And that's when the Toro Toro remix pack came out, the remix came out of. And then, Skrillex was playing that 2 years in a row at Coachella kind of thing.
Yeah, that was a big record.
I guess the real next noticeable thing was the Mad Decent EP.
Right.
Like Crush Groove obviously set up all this stuff now. Because I guess before then, like, I didn't really have a strong sense of like how to, like what being an artist entailed. Like to me in my head it was all mashed up still.
Sure, yeah.
I had so many aspirations to be so many things.
And how do you focus those ideas and present a unified aesthetic that people
Exactly.
can understand?
Yeah, I didn't know how to do any of that then. And it wasn't, even after Crush Groove, I still didn't really know, but I had more of a sense.
Was the G House term starting to get thrown around yet at that point?
Yeah, that was already around. And if
Okay.
anything, that was more the time when I was trying to not separate myself, but show that I was like more than just one dimension.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff coming out of that time was just the same bass line with a pitch down vocal. Like they're just jacking your shit. You know what I mean? They'll just remake it and jack it. And so like that
you see it
EP
in
was
every genre.
Yeah, that EP was me trying to prove that. I mean, if you listen to it, there's a Future Bass song on there, and it's like
I
3
just
years
listened to
old.
it last night. Yeah.
And like, people came out recently like, why'd you make a Future, like, because like I did a song recently that's Future Bass. Like, dude, check my shit from 3 years ago. Like, I had Future Bass before half your favorite Future Bass artists even exist.
Right.
Obviously having Mad Decent and like Diplo's support.
Yeah, that's always a big stamp.
Yeah, really, it started moving. And then having Destructo as well at the time, and having this genre that we'd kind of really started going. And I mean, it's crazy. Like, there's a G House category on Beatport now.
I know, I saw that.
Like, dog, there's G House sample packs. Like,
yeah, that's you, man. That's crazy. I mean, do you feel, obviously there were other people involved in this movement, and you may not have come up with the name for this new genre that people started throwing around, but do you feel responsible for that wave? Do you feel like you have any responsibility to kind of curate it or to progress it or to call it out when it's being shitty?
Not so much about the genre per se, but I guess the kids that are inspired from it. So I have like a Twitter group now where we have, 50 people in the Twitter group, and it's like a mix of half like kind of professionals, like top level names, and the other half is young kids.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my way of doing little things. Or like, I don't know, obviously I could probably do more, but it's hard when I feel like I need to build my platform more. I think for me, it's like, I don't want to like be a shitty cosign. I want to be like the one that can help you break it. So like, I feel like maybe I need to build my thing bigger first before I can really go ham on like having a dope label that I can help kids.
Is that a goal eventually, to have a label and kind of build out a whole world? Yeah,
maybe not a label for money-making reasons, but for purely like creative aspirations.
Just to highlight things that you like. And
But we have this Twitter group now where we're like sharing music, and like there's a lot of younger dudes in it who are like G House producers, like Bijou or like Ryan Collins. Like, these kids, like when I first met Ryan, like he was like, wow, like you're the reason like why I like this shit. Like little things like that. So it's like, okay, cool. Like genre aside or whatever, like you call it whatever the fuck you want to call it. I really don't give a shit. You know what I mean? But if the vibe inspired you, then like why don't we just all stick together a bit more? And it was really hard for me to find new music. That's why. And I'd also be getting emails from like all the same kids every day. I'm like, yo, why don't we just put it all together and you just post it once and then everyone can get it?
That's great,
like,
man.
So that's the system we got going now.
And even that little bit of organization, I think, would be hugely valuable to a young kid just starting off.
Some of these young dudes now are getting opportunities. Like one dude is like touring on Chris Lake's tour now.
There you go.
I'm not going to say it's because of the group, but I'm going to say it has facilitated in opening more conversations between people that might not have spoken.
And that's so valuable. I mean, because that's one of the top questions you get from people just starting off is, how do I get people to hear my stuff? How do I meet these people?
Dude, I mean, Oliver Heldens wrote like yesterday, like, hey, if you guys have any demos for my label, here's the email address.
That's amazing.
And it's like, you have a direct in, and like, these are things I struggled when I was coming up. Like, everybody holds the keys, they're gatekeepers, and they're not going to open shit. Like, for me, it's like, I'm already friends with the friends I got, like what do I need to, the tide will will lift my ship.
Right.
I'd rather look at it that way.
Yeah.
You know, like my ship is where it is. Yeah, there's going to be a wave that goes higher than you and, you know, you're going to go low.
Yeah.
It's always going to be. But for the most part, like if you can help raise the general fucking sea level, like it's going to raise your ship too.
Absolutely.
You know, we need more people doing our sound in our scene everywhere. So that's what made me kind of stop being selfish and kind of like, you know, try and overcome that fear of feeling so competitive all the time and stop fighting for the one house slot on a festival when we should be generating 10 house slots. So 10 of us can be the top names at the top. Like, why do we have to all fight for the one spot? I feel like it's helping now to alleviate some of that pressure of fighting with each other a lot. Well, I hope it is. I hope it's bringing more people together. I mean, look, Marla and Charmy posted their new song today. And it's like, to these kids that now have direct access. For me, I was just like, fuck, if I had that, you know, and it's good because I feel like no one in there pushes it. They're not like punishers.
Yeah.
Or not that I know of. Like,
Right.
They all seem really like, that's what I like. I like people that if you give them an inch, they don't take a mile. Because things are slow. Like,
it's one of those things where it's easy, I think, when you're younger to, if you send something to somebody, you know, and they don't respond, it's easy to just be like, you want to hit them up again, you know?
Yeah.
But people don't realize that, you know, even if somebody doesn't respond, they still might listen. They might hit you up 6 months from now.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
There's a million ways to do it. But so what's coming up next for you, man? Any big projects or just in general, any, you know, where do you envision Wax Motif in the next year, in the next 2 years? What's kind of the next goal? You've released with every label. You've worked with all these people. What's the next project?
It's taking Wax now, I think, to the next level. So I got a few songs two that I think are going to come out of Mad Decent. Well, Diplo heard them, was like, yo, these are fire.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Usually that's all it takes.
So now I got to try and get one of the vocals cleared because it's from someone pretty big. So I'm just trying to do that. And then obviously Night Bass release, some more Confession releases, but just kind of doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Staying on the trajectory. I mean, the labels I want to be with are Mad Decent, Night Bass, Confession. I mean, I'd love to do something new for Fool's Gold. So that's kind of where I want to be. And then on the other side, just working with more artists. So I've done a few songs which are like, again, I can't talk about them just yet, but like hopefully you're going to hear some of this production pretty soon.
Oh yeah, well that's thanks for having me over, man. I'm glad we got to connect like this. This is really dope.
That was crazy. I don't even remember what we talked about for like the last hour, but like
that's good. That's what we want.
Yeah, I feel like I just went in.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
Cool.
Wax Motif, man. Thank you.
Thank you, bro.
All right, that's the show. I want to thank Wax Motif for having me over. I'm never going to forget you just kind of lounging on the couch there with all the police sirens going on. It was a special conversation, man. It meant a lot to me. And for everybody listening, I hope you loved this as much as I did. Don't forget, Wax Motif is going on tour in Australia at the end of December, and he's got some new music coming out as well, new EP on the way. And he just put out a new song with Wookie. This is a busy guy. I'm going to link to his site. I'm going to link to his dates in the description of this show so you guys can follow him. You can follow me at Willy Joy. That's the handle on all social media. You can also email me at backtobackpod@gmail.com. Hey guys, it's November. Here we go. Final stretch of 2017 starts now. I have some crazy shit lined up for you on this show before the end of the year. Big stuff going on. That's it for today. I'll see you guys next Tuesday. This is Willy Joy. Thank you for listening to Back to Back. Peace.